And so it would come to be. The Niner faithful, their core shaken as the team licked its wounds from the defeat at the hands of Kansas City and their Chiefs. Now wondering what lies in store. No longer do they hold the edge over their adversaries in the NFC West. Nor can they say they tasted victory more than the stinging feel of defeat. And now they found themselves wondering what's going to happen. Our core, our offensive team, depleted. And up next, a trip to the rival kingdom of Los Angeles to face the dreaded Rams. The faithful, crying out for some sort of savior, ask the football gods to please be delivered from another potential season of going 3-5 halfway through. The die was cast. They went to Los Angeles. They came out victors, for the Savior did come. A Savior sent from the distant land of Carolina. His name, Christian McCaffery. Well, I don't know how much more can be said about Christian McCaffery this week. Halfway through the season now, the Niners sit at 4-4 after a 31-14 win over the Rams, who they continue to own ever since Jimmy G came on the team. He's 8-0 against them now in the regular season. Like I said, you got to check SoFi Stadium. There's like one brick that just says property of San Francisco 49ers somewhere in that building. McCaffrey, he did it all. He got a hat trick. I'm gonna use the term hat trick. Some people are saying trifecta. I just like saying hat trick. Passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, receiving touchdown. The guy was the Swiss Army knife up and down the field on offense all day. And they even did this without having Juice, without having Debo, without having Jennings. The offense came together with everything going right. Essentially, I think they had one fumble that they recovered. They had a second one that could have been a fumble, but I think it got called being an incomplete instead. McCaffrey ends up being the third running back since the merger behind Walter Payton and LaDainian Tomlinson for recording the hat trick. And I even think this kind of gets buried underneath the McCaffrey, but Jimmy G had his best game that I could think of probably since that 2019 Saints game. That was that shootout back in New Orleans. If I'm reading it correctly, he got the highest passing percentage of any Niner quarterback since Steve Young, and that was going back to 1997. This is the plan for how the offense should be. Hopefully Shanahan has figured that out now looking at this game. I know it's against the Rams. I know it's a familiar opponent, and yeah, it might not work against every opponent you're going to face, but it's still definitely the groundwork for probably how this team should handle their offense later on. Defensively, all right, the Rams put up a few points in the first half. Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp, so I know it's hard to block the guy. That's a lot of their offense. The second half, though, 0 points were allowed. This is now Sean McVay's second defeat after leading at halftime, both of which are against the Niners because the first time was Week 18 last year for the Niners to make the playoffs. So this year they do the same again. They hand another loss while leading at halftime. Also on the board, Kittle was on the board, Ayuk's on the board. I know I mentioned Jimmy having the best game percentage pass since Steve Young, 21 of 25, 235 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Outside of that fumble little goof that they had there, the offensive line I think still needs to have some help, particularly on the right side. Nothing against Mike McGlinchey. He seems like a likable guy, but there's something about him that he seems to lose the battle against his man more than anyone else on that line. I'm sure he's aware of it. I'm sure it's something that can be fixed. It's just that's probably the only glaring weakness on this team right now. If they can play like that every game, that's probably the only glaring weakness. I can't see much else really happening otherwise. Defensively, I know Armstead's still out, Verrett's still out, so some of the starters are still out. They haven't even played a game this year yet. But going ahead, Week 9 next week is the bye week. It's a great time halfway through the season get to kick back and watch the other teams play then, especially the NFC West divisional teams. Obviously, the 49ers beat the Rams this week. The Cardinals lost, and the Seahawks pulled out a win over the Giants, so they still lead the division. Niners still looking up, but they're only a game behind, and the Niners have won all their division games right now. They're 3-0, which is going to be the biggest boon for them to either win the division, to win the division pretty much, because I'm still unsure if they're going to make the playoffs if they don't win the division. Right now, they are tied for 7th with Washington at 4-4. I think they're only a game behind the Giants and the Cowboys, though, so it's not entirely out of reach to be able to move up into wild card position if you can't win the division. So at the halfway point, they're in decent shape. This week it's just all about getting healthy, and if they get healthy, it's gonna be a great second half of the season, provided of course that there's no injuries. But hey, you gotta play one game at a time. Other than that, though, this was a fantastic game. If they could play like this every single game, I wouldn't be having a heart attack like I'm sure most of you do. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Looking forward to a nice, relaxing week of just watching whatever comes on TV for football and not biting my nails and having a defibrillator next to me. And I look forward to seeing you guys back on week 10. Thanks.